everybody, and welcome to Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk presented by Forefathers Organics. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, here for the Batavia Daily and Livingston County News. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park, thanks to our friends at Forefathers Organics in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, a quick podcast here tonight. We had one this morning with our guests Sal Capaccio and Nate Geary. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel at the Batavia Daily News online.com. Also, audio version available wherever you get your podcast if you want to rehash our conversation from earlier today. But this podcast, the purpose of it, a few updates from Wednesday's Bills practice. Beginning with Amari Cooper, the wide receiver, was excused from this past weekend's trip to New England due to personal reasons, and Sean McDermott on Monday kind of left it up in the air, some vagueness surrounding Cooper's status for this upcoming game against the Denver Broncos. But update on Wednesday was that Cooper was indeed in attendance at the Bills walkthrough inside the field house at One Bills Drive. Looks like Cooper is all set with whatever he was dealing with in his personal life, and the Bills are going to need Cooper this weekend if they hope to move past a tough Broncos defense. Patrick Surtain in the back end, one of the top cornerbacks in the league. And while the Bills don't have a true number one bona fide receiver that Surtain may follow around this week, the more weapons that the Bills have at their disposal, the better. And to have Cooper's services, certainly a boon for the Bills, and will make it more difficult for a defense as talented as the Broncos are to defend the Bills' passing game. Another update on the injury front. Terrel Bernard, good to go for this Sunday's game against the Denver Broncos. He was held out of the regular season finale against the New England Patriots. And Sean McDermott said leading into that game that Bernard would likely be able to go this week. He was on track to play. But it was good to hear from McDermott today, confirm that and really quell any concerns that were remaining surrounding Bernard's status for this weekend. Bernard was injured last postseason. He missed the divisional round game against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills had to call A.J. Klein off the couch, and we all know how that turned out. So certainly need Terrel Bernard's services. And during my conversation with Nate Geary earlier today, he brought up the Bills' defense maybe not communicating as well as we've seen from them in the past. And if you lose your top communicator, one of your captains in the middle of it all, that certainly would not have worked out well for the Bills. So good to hear that Bernard is good to go for this weekend, and McDermott confirming as much on Wednesday. The one injury to pay attention to for the Bills at this point is with kick returner Brandon Codrington. He hurt his hamstring playing some extra defensive snaps against the New England Patriots, filling in once the second team came in and once the Bills officially pulled all of their starters. And I think all that added movement and having to chase down opposing wide receivers when you're not accustomed to doing it on a regular basis throughout the season may leave you a bit tender after a performance like that. And certainly that seems to be the case with Brandon Codrington. We don't know if this is a significant injury, what grade it is on the hamstring. We haven't determined that information, but as of right now, it seems like it's a day-to-day situation. Going into this game, the return game really could factor in heavily. Marvin Mims on the other side, a Pro Bowl returner, a history of scoring touchdowns in the return game. But really what these two do for their teams, they set them up with quality field position to start drives. And that was pointed out by Sal Capaccio earlier on X. The Bills and Broncos 1 and 2 in terms of starting field position in the NFL this season. The Bills averages start at the 33.5-yard line. The Broncos at the 32.5-yard line. Mims averaging 15.7 yards per return. That's first in the NFL this year, while Codrington averaging 11.8 yards per return. That's fourth in the NFL. So if you're missing Codrington, that gives a major advantage to the Denver Broncos, who I already think have a significant advantage when it comes to special teams. If you look at DVOA, the Bills are near the bottom of the barrel, while the Broncos are near the top of the heap. So you hear Sean McDermott and his coaching staff preach special teams all the time, and I think it could be big in this game. If Codrington is to miss this game, I think you see Ty Johnson, Ray Davis maybe back there sharing the return duties. Try to get further clarification on that as the week progresses here. Another player that missed practice today, along with Codrington, Jamarcus Ingram, who we heard plenty from after the loss to the Patriots, helping Sam Martin cash his incentive by stopping that punt from rolling into the end zone, saying that Sam Martin said that he was going to buy him dinner when it was all said and done, and how he was looking forward to that. But Ingram was out today due to personal reasons, and Ingram's been a critical piece for the Bills this year. A couple of players have been in and out of the lineup, and Ingram has filled in admirably, making a few plays early in the year, a few interceptions, and I mentioned the play on the special teams, the punt, against the Patriots. So if you're without Ingram in this game, that just knocks you down one player in terms of depth. You don't need him in the starting lineup. You have Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas at full go. You have your safety room fully intact as it stands right now. But if one of those players are to go down, you have to start digging into your depth. If you don't have a Jamarcus Ingram at your disposal, that could spell trouble for the Bills. But much like the Bills, the Broncos pretty healthy entering this matchup. Two players limited on Wednesday. Cornerback Damari Mathis with a back injury, and Ben Powers, a guard, getting a partial rest day, non-injury related there. So not much to deal with if you're the Denver Broncos. Same thing with the Buffalo Bills. So this should be a quality matchup with both teams really at full efficacy entering this one. The only player that didn't practice for the Broncos on Wednesday, tackle Frank Crum, dealing with an illness. All right, that's it from Wednesday's practice, the first day open to the media. Before we touch on our final topic of this quick update podcast that we'll do throughout the postseason here at night after practices, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Forefathers Organics in Dansville. At Forefathers Organics, their mission is to liberate, educate, and innovate with the highest quality CBD and hemp-derived products for your mind, body, and soul so you can live happy and free. Visit them at 87 Franklin Street in Dansville, online at forefathersorganics.com, or call them at 585-335-2223 to learn more about the products they offer. All right, just to wrap up today's coverage, I posted in the initial podcast this morning, the one question we were really looking to answer today was, is this Super Bowl or bust for the Bills this season? And I asked Josh Allen after practice today, as a competitor, how do you stop yourself from falling into that mentality when you know you have 4 games to go until you win that championship? And he just said you got to put one foot in front of the other, kind of a cliche response as you would expect from him. But he was asked further to further his comments later during his press conference, and he just spoke about the confidence that this team has in each other this season. And I've spoke on the culture within the locker room this year, and really talking about the familial nature and the happy-go-lucky nature within that locker room. But I think he touched on a really good point. And being so close to it as he is, the confidence that this group has in each other this season. I think ever since 13 seconds with last year's group, I posted it in a tweet of a few days ago. There was an underlying toxicity in that locker room, I think, that needed to be extinguished. And I think getting a fresh start this season, going through the transition that they did, really helped them reset in the locker room and regain that trust in one another. The players that return, the players that came in. I think what they've been brewing in that locker room this season is something special, and I think that's going to lead them to special things down the stretch here in the postseason. But if you ask me, the answer is no. It's not Super Bowl or bust yet. Not right now, anyway. The Bills have kind of altered their expectations as the season has gone along. If you look at it at the beginning of the year, a lot of people picking them to finish 10-7. Some people picking them to finish out of the playoff race. But the way that they've kind of turned those expectations on their head have opened me up to considering Super Bowl as kind of the bust nature surrounding that goal seeking for the Bills. But when it comes down to it, I think if you look at it and you look at their history in the divisional round these past few seasons, I think that's where you have to set your sights if you're the Bills and the Bills fan base. Getting past that divisional round, setting yourself up with a chance at what I expect to be the Kansas City Chiefs in that AFC Championship game. And if you think about that, that would mean you would finally get over the hump in that divisional round, but it would also mean you beat both number one seeds in each conference this year, the Lions and the Chiefs, and perhaps the next in line in terms of favorites to win the Super Bowl, the Baltimore Ravens with MVP candidate Lamar Jackson, a team that beat you earlier this season. I'm expecting the Ravens to take care of business against the Steelers this week. Baltimore without wide receiver Zay Flowers, but even so, I think Baltimore moves into that divisional round, sets up that potential matchup with Buffalo if they're able to move past the Broncos. And then if you're the Bills and you're able to get through the Baltimore Ravens, we speak of confidence that can really get that ball rolling into that matchup against the Chiefs, a team that you have had no trouble with during the regular season in the past few years, and quite honestly should have beaten them in that 13 seconds game, and that would have kind of altered the history against the Chiefs in the playoffs if you think about it that way. But if you're the Bills, you have to get through this game against the Broncos, but really you have your sights set on that matchup with the Ravens. I think if you're looking at it from an outsider's perspective, that's the matchup everybody's looking for. And if you're able to get through that one, I think you consider this season a success if you're able to reach the AFC Championship game. But that's my 2 cents. We'll see how it all shakes out this weekend as the Bills are set to host the Broncos 1 p.m. at Highmark Stadium as Kristen toes the line of Sean McDermott. Kristen, Sean would be very proud of you with this comment. One game at a time. He had his entire team towing that line today. So I don't expect them to look past the Broncos by any means. But, hey, us in the media, you as fans, you can look past the Broncos and think what it would be like to host the Ravens in that divisional round, and think what it would be like to experience a victory, finally, in Highmark Stadium in that divisional round. But we'll be back with many more shows throughout the week. Joining us tomorrow, Ryan Talbot of the Shout podcast. So excited to have him on. On Friday, we'll have a few more guests as well. So stay tuned, and we'll see you in the coming days.